Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So moving forward in our Ram Navami meditation series, here I am presenting you 5 ways to be a perfect couple from Ramayana. So taking the example of none other than Shri Sita Ram, we will learn today how to be a perfect couple. And before we do that, let's offer our respects. Lokabhiramam Ranarangadhiram Rajivanetram Raghuvanshanatham Karunyarupam Karunakarantam Shri Ramachandram Sharanam Prapatye Shri Ramachandram Sharanam Prapatye Shri Ramachandram Sharanam Prapadye. Seeking blessings of all my seniors and the entire Guru Parampara, here I am moving forward with a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this verse comes in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says, एक पत्नी व्रताधरो राजर्षि चरितः शुचिः स्वधर्मं गृहमेधीयं शिक्षयन् स्वयमाचरेत्. This is describing the qualities of Lord Rama as an ideal husband. So it says, Lord Ramchandra took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with any other women. He was a saintly king, and everything in his character was good, untinged by qualities like anger. He taught good behavior for everyone, especially for householders, in terms of varnashram dharma. Thus, he taught the public by his personal activities. So this verse glorifies Lord Ramchandra and his specific behavior, and there are few things which are highlighted here, like how he took the vrata to have only one wife, how everything about him was amazing and exemplary, how his character was good, how he was saintly, and interestingly, it's mentioned that how he was untouched by the qualities like anger. So this is the verse from Bhagavatam, and here we go a little in detail to trying and understand the scope of an ideal husband. So scope as an SCOPE, it's an abbreviation so that we can remember what to learn from Sri Ramchandra. So scope में S as in saintly. Raj Rishi Charitah. He was a saintly king. Actually, when he was about to be crowned, he was neither like feeling very proud or arrogant. On the other hand, just before the day when he was told about his Rajabhishek, he was very contemplative and focused. He was focusing as how he can dedicate and devote all his energies into serving Ayodhya. So rather than thinking about what great powers are awaiting for him, Rama actually took refuge in higher power, and he actually took the vows so that he can perform his responsibility in a better manner. All his time, his intelligence, his energy, his resources, everything he would utilize for the welfare of the citizens of Ayodhya. And that is why even till today, it is so very common, this phrase, Ram Rajya. So what was it? What was it like to be living in Ram Rajya? So in Ram Rajya, the roads were kept very good, unlike today. There was good water supply, kingdom was well managed, king was wealthy, and so were the citizens also. So not that everything was hoarded with the king, but even the citizens were very, very wealthy. And there was plenty of grains and milk products and cotton and silk and jewel and all the opulences. In fact, it is very interesting that it is mentioned that there was no shop that would sell locks, and nobody would give charity there. And why so? Because nothing needed to be locked up. There were no thieves actually. And no one was giving charity because there were no beggars. Everything was so opulent. Everybody was so satisfied. All the Ayodhya Vasis were completely grateful to Lord Rama. So this is how saintly his character was. And when he goes to the forest, so there also what Rama was thinking, what was his meditation? He would say that I see myself actively assisting King Bharat. So Bharat is sitting there in Ayodhya and Bharat is ruling the city. But then who would save the jungles, the forest, which is actually otherwise inaccessible, and there are so many demons who dwell here. So how can I, Bharat, by taking care of the forest and eliminate all the demons from here? So this is how he was living in the forest as service to Ayodhya. He was in Ayodhya as service to Ayodhya. So that is how saintly Lord Rama was. So this saintly character, now this gets showcased in all aspects of our life. So it was not that he was saintly only towards Ayodhya Vasi, but because if you are staying with such a person, because if such a person is your husband, so imagine what type of association you are getting, how automatically you imbibe that mood. So this is what S as in saintly. Then C as in committed. So we discussed in detail yesterday about how he had taken this Ek Patni Vrata. So here it is mentioned in this verse which we read today, it said Ek Patni Vrata Dharo. So Lord Rama took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with anybody else. So he was very, very committed to his wife. He was completely loyal and chaste to Mother Sita. He had no connection with any other woman, and their relationship was of absolute trust. So Sita would never doubt Rama. Absolute trust was there because of Rama's commitment towards this very important relationship of his life. Then there comes O as an outstanding character. Swadharmam griha medhiyam. That is what the verse says. So everything in his character was good. Now, good character, how does it get reflected here in case of Lord Ramachandra? One, he was very charismatic, and this charisma was arising because of his purity. I mean, who can be more pure than the Supreme Lord himself? So he was completely transcendental, he was divine, and that is how he had such charismatic personality. Then he was very, very, very courageous, like we discussed yesterday, that he was such a chivalrous warrior. So he was very courageous, and at the same time, he was very caring. So when it would come to his wife, he was very loving and caring towards his wife. And he was a confidant for his wife. So whatever the wife wanted to share, they had such sweet, friendly relationship that she could actually share anything and everything with Lord Rama. And Sita Devi would never miss her family members. She would never miss her friends. Why? Because she had Lord Rama. So these are the four things: the charismatic, courageous, caring, and confident. So this made him out of outstanding character. And then moving forward, S, C, O, and we reach at P. So P is peaceful, or the word which describes in this verse is Shuchihi. So which means that he was untinged by the qualities like anger. He would not really get angry. So there is this detailed description of how when Rama was coming to the forest, Mother Sita wanted to join him. Mother Sita wanted to come, and she was giving all her reasons why Rama should take him. And Rama was giving all possible reasons as why she should not come to the forest, because Rama was very concerned about her comfort, about the life in the forest and how difficult it would be. And he was trying to convince somehow or other Mother Sita that it is only a matter of 14 years and 14 years would just go by. So do not worry, and I'll be there with you. It's just 14 years until the time you take care of my mothers, you take care of the kingdom, you perform your religious duties, and you be here. And Sita was trying again and again and again. So finally, when Sita could not convince Rama, she said something very, very unique and unlikely of her. She said, if my father was here, he would have surely felt that he had mistakenly married his daughter to a woman claiming to be a man. So this is how Mother Sita actually challenged Lord Rama. And that too, she was saying something which is very, very hurtful. And she knew that she is hurting Lord Rama. And she was thinking also that I am hurting this person whom I love the most. But then there are 14 years I'll spend time with him in the forest, and I can convince him and I can pacify him. But this card I need to play now so that my husband will take me to the forest. So she said that because you are not taking me to the forest because you think that you will not be able to take care of me and protect me in the forest. So which means that you are not man enough. And my father Janaka would have felt so bad and bashful, thinking that he has married his daughter to a man dressed as to a woman dressed as man. So when Rama heard this, of course he was very hurt, but he did not say even a word there. We are talking about his quality of peacefulness. So he did not say anything at that time. But much later, when they were in the forest and when Rama was attacked by Khardushan and the army of 14,000 soldiers, so there Rama tells Lakshman to take Sita away from there. And it is described that there are 3 reasons why he did so. Rather 4 reasons. So the first reason was that he was aware that Sita is not like Kaikeyi, who's an expert in warfare and she can also fight. So one reason was that Sita was not expert in fighting. Second was that Lakshman was so volatile that he would not be able to tolerate slightest injury to Rama. So he wanted to send Lakshman also away from there. Third, because Rama had promised that he would himself kill all the demons. He would vanquish all the demons. So he had promised this to the sage. So he wanted to do that single-handedly. But the hidden and the most important reason is that he wanted to convey this private message to Sita. So because Sita told like this, Sita has challenged Rama that he's not man enough. So he was holding this and he demonstrated when the time was right. So at this time, he did not get angry. He did not even speak anything. But then when Khardushan attacked and he defeated them, and this is how he proved his point to Mother Sita. So this is how, like an ideal husband, he was very peaceful, not losing his temper at small things. And then the 5th quality, E, is exemplary behavior. Shikshayan Swayam Acharat. By his own personal acharan or by his own personal teaching, Lord Rama was, his own personal conduct, he was teaching everybody else as how to follow the varnashramic duty. So here we see that Rama, Sita and Lakshman, the 3 of them, they spent considerable time in the forest and it was just the 3 of them. So in his dealings with how he would manage the 2 of them. So like for example, there is an incident when just for some fun, they were having this swimming competition. So Rama and Sita were having swimming competition and they declared Lakshman to be the judge. So Lakshman was sitting at the bank and both of them were competing. So of course, Rama is so powerful and so tall that within no time he was about to reach the other end. So they were supposed to reach the other end and then come back. And whoever comes first would be the winner. So Rama goes like that and he starts coming back, and when he covered half of the distance, he turns behind and sees that Sita has not even reached the other end. So when he sees that, then he starts thinking that he can very easily win the competition. But then what is the fun? Why do I win and spoil my relationship? Or how much would I gain by winning this competition? I'll be very happy if I see my Sita happy. So what he does is he goes inside the water and he waits there. And Sita reaches the other side and then Sita comes back and then Sita is the winner and she is so happy. So Rama, seeing her happiness, he derives more joy than actually winning in that race. So this is how he was teaching things by his own exemplary behavior. There is another incident where Rama had to choose and decide that which place they would be staying in the forest. So Rama chooses the place which had lots of flowering trees, which had scenic spot and a water body close by, and which also had the trees which would give some dietary requirement like whatever they would daily eat. So now Rama decides this very thoughtfully because Sita wanted flowers. So he chose a place where there were a lot of flowers. He wanted for his own personal thing, he loved water, like going in water, taking bath, etc. So he chose the place which was close to water body also, and simultaneously taking care of Lakshman so that he does not have to travel deep into the jungle to get the daily food requirements. So he took all these 3 parameters into consideration and then he chooses the place. So striking balance between the family members. So keeping the wife happy and keeping the brother also happy simultaneously. And this thing, exemplary behavior, Rama also demonstrated in this entire deer episode which happened, this golden deer. So when golden deer had come and Sita became so attracted, so we all know that this golden deer was actually Marich. So he had come transformed into a golden deer. And this golden deer, I mean, it is such a beautiful thing, has not been described even in the scriptures anywhere. Like this golden skin and silver spots all over his body. And then his stomach was white with blue diamonds called Neel Mani. And his head was white. His cheeks were shades of red lotus and blue lotus on each side. So one red lotus and one blue lotus. Mouth was like red chili. And the tail of this deer was like rainbow. So he was so attractive. His hooves are described as gemstones. So when Sita saw this deer, Sita was so fascinated, so attracted, and Sita said, I want that deer. Lakshman, using his discrimination, he saw that when this deer is coming, all the other animals are moving away. So Lakshman said that this indicates that something is not okay. More precisely, it is some demon dressed as or changed his form as a deer, and that is why it has come. So Lakshman was telling, you must not go behind him, Rama. It is all illusion. Sita was telling, Rama, I want that deer. Rama was in a fix. What to do? How to satisfy brother and wife both? Brother was saying something else and wife was asking for something else. Now, how Rama acted in this situation, Rama said to Lakshman that in last 25 years, Sita has never asked me for anything. And this is the first thing she is asking me. So I must get the deer for her. I simultaneously understand, Lakshman, that you are very concerned about me. But then if you remember that I have taken a vow to kill all the demons. So even if it is a demon, like if what you are saying is right, and if this deer is a demon, then it becomes my duty to kill this demon. So in both the cases, I must go behind the demon. So if it is not an illusory demon, I'll get it for Sita. If it is an illusory demon, I'll kill and fulfill my promise. So this is how at every step, keeping the brother and the wife, both of them satisfied, he was personally demonstrating the behavior of an ideal husband. So this is about Lord Ramchandra. And then here is a verse about Mother Sita Devi. प्रेमानुवृत्य शीलेना प्रश्रयावन्तः सति भिया ह्रिया च भावज्ञा भर्तुः सीता हरन्मनः. Mother Sita was very submissive, faithful, shy and chaste, always understanding the attitude of her husband. Thus, by her character and her love and service, she completely attracted the mind of the Lord. So we discussed the scope of husband, and here is the scope of the wife. The result is mentioned here that she completely attracted the mind of the Lord. And this Lord is not only her Lord, this Lord is the Supreme Lord. And she attracted his mind. And how was that? So let's break down this verse and see what are our learnings from this verse. So scope, S as in shy and respectful. Hriya, by shyness. So while Sita was there with Ram and Lakshman, all this while also, she was very respectful. So though there was so much of intimacy between them, because all the time constantly they were there with each other. So despite so much of intimacy, yet she was very respectful and she was shy also. So when it is described that in the forest, when they would walk, now this walking would be so interesting that Sita would be generally walking between Ram and Lakshman. She would be very careful in avoiding the steps, like Rama would be a little ahead. So Rama's footprint would be there and she would carefully avoid stepping in Rama's footprint. Why? Because those footprints are worshipable for her. So she would keep her feet on the right side of Rama's footprint, because she always wanted Rama to be close to her heart, but then simultaneously she wanted to give all due respect to Lord Ramchandra. So this is how Rama would walk, and just little behind Sita, avoiding the footsteps of Rama. and behind them was Lakshman, avoiding the footprints of both Sita and Rama. That is how they would walk also in the jungle. Also in the forest, sometimes they would reach some village. So it is described in Ramayana that sometimes these village ladies would come to Mother Sita and they would ask, because they would get very attracted to Sita. Sita would be so beautiful. And then they would pick up some conversation, and these village girls, they would ask Sita that who are these two men? And that would be the first time when Mother Sita was expected to introduce Lord Rama and Lord Rama and Lakshman. So she would very shyly, she would say, he is my husband and this is my brother-in-law. So I'm in so much of respect that she would not even take their names, but full of respect and shyness, and yet whatever somebody is asking. So that is how she maintained her life with Rama, though so close, though so intimate, yet very, very respectful. So we hear often that the husbands feel disrespected by wife. And this is a very, very important quality of wife, to treat husband respectfully. So this is personally demonstrated by her. Then C as in chaste. So now we were talking about commitment of Lord Rama. And there we see the commitment or the chastity of Mother Sita also. So when Sita was actually kidnapped and Sita was staying with Ravana, now it was a very difficult time for Mother Sita. She was always surrounded by these Rakshasis who were like blood smeared. Like just a sight of those Rakshasis and we may get a heart attack. We may just get paralyzed just by looking at those Rakshasis. And Sita had to stay with them. And then there was this all-powerful Ravana. And Ravana would come every day and he would sort of threaten Sita, and he would tell. So he would use all his arguments also. First, he would say that I'll give you the whole kingdom to rule. I'll ask all the women to be your slaves. You can enjoy everything with me. And Rama could not save his own kingdom. What would he save you from me? So better you surrender unto me. So Sita was there under Rama's custody, and yet Sita was very, very firm. So Ravan would torture her. Ravan would also tell her that if you don't say yes to me, then I'll have you in my breakfast. So such threat. So Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, Ravana was using everything to somehow win Sita, somehow make Sita agree to his proposal. But Sita was so firm. And there is one description that when Ravana visited, Sita actually threw a piece of grass in front of him. And with just this piece of grass, the Acharyas explain that there are so many various type of things which she was communicating to Ravana. So a piece of grass was like, okay, so you have come to my home, have a seat. Piece of grass could also mean that this is my screen or this is my parda, because I don't come in front of Parpurush or any other person. Piece of grass because don't think I am all alone. My husband can appear even from this grass. He is all powerful. Piece of grass because when my husband will come, then all what would be left with you is just this grass, because he would destroy everything. Piece of grass because you are like an animal. An animal eats grass, so this is for you. Piece of grass because you will not be able to move even a piece of grass in front of Rama. So all these various interpretations are given just by throwing that piece of grass Sita was communicating. So what is being emphasized here is her faith, her conviction, her determination, her loyalty, her chastity towards her husband. Situation was difficult. Ravan was there every single day. Rakshasis were there surrounding her. Everybody was forcing her. And yet here she was, without any weapon, without anything. And she is thinking, and she has full faith that even this blade of grass can actually protect her. So that is her chastity. So S, C as in chastity, O as in obedient. So Sita is always submissive and she's always ready to satisfy her husband. And how she does that? So how is she obedient? So one is she compliment or appreciate wonderful qualities of Lord Rama. Her mouth never gets tired of appreciating Lord Rama. Then she compliments his nature. She makes him complete. So like for example, when there was this coronation ceremony in Ayodhya, when it was happening, when finally after the exile Rama goes back and coronation ceremony was about to happen, and there was some red powder which somebody threw in the air. I mean, it was a festive thing and they were all celebrating by throwing different color powders. And when she sees this, she was immediately reminded of Jatayu. She could think of the Jatayu's blood and his sacrifice, and her heart was all full of gratitude. So what is happening is that Jatayu, we know how grateful Rama was and how grateful Sita is also. So this is how she was actually complimenting her husband's nature. She was such a caring wife that she would take care of all the necessities what her husband might have. And then, very interesting point, that though she was obedient, she would correct her husband, because if she feels that there is any slightest deviation from the path of dharma, she would actually check with her husband. So her name, another name was Dharmacharini. In fact, when she was getting married to Rama, that time itself Janak Maharaj told that my daughter will follow you when you are right and she will correct you when you are wrong, because she is Dharmacharini. So we also see this fact that when Rama reaches in the forest, Rama takes this vow that he would kill all the demons. So Sita checks with Rama that you are a Kshatriya, and Kshatriya dharma is to protect others. So Kshatriya is supposed to not lie without an emergency. He is not supposed to maintain any illicit relationship, and he must not develop animosity with anyone else without any reason. So I'm sure, Rama, that you would never tell any lie, and you are completely committed to me, so you would not have any illicit relationship. But now you are saying that you would kill all these demons. So now you don't have any animosity with him. You are not their enemy. So why would you kill him? So this is an example that how Sita would ask questions if she would feel that Rama was deviating from the path of dharma. So on this, actually, Rama gives a reply that my father has told me to go to the forest. My father has not told me not to use your bow and arrow. So I am here on behalf of Bharat, destroying all the demons in the forest. Because Sita was thinking that he has come to the forest, so he should stay like a sage, and why he would use his bow and arrow. So when she gets that doubt, she actually raises that question. So the point what we are highlighting is that if she would feel, I mean, of course, Rama was the follower of dharma and he would never break any dharma, but if she would get this feeling, then she would correct him. So compliment, care and correct. And this is from the book Ramayana, which is written by Shubh Vilas Prabhu, where he writes this point. It's a very interesting point, so I brought it there. These 4 C's which explain Sita's nature as how she would be obedient. The 4th scope, P, stands as in purity in character and love. So she was so pure and she was so committed to her husband. So now there is another incident when Hanuman actually reaches Lanka. Hanuman starts calling Sita that come with me, I'll take you right away. Why we have to wait for Rama to come, mother? I am here and I'm capable enough. I'll take you back. So actually that doubt may come to us now, that when Hanuman has come, rather than taking the Chudamani and going back, he could have taken Sita back. So when Hanuman makes this offer, Sita gives few reasons. One, she says, I'm very scared of heights. You will fly at such height and I would be scared. Second, she says that you may get distracted by like flying, and if there is some demon who comes to fight with you, you may get distracted. What if I fall down from there? Third, she says, you are a Parapurush, right? You are another person. So I am not supposed to touch any Purush or any male person. I am completely dedicated to my husband. So she gives these 3 reasons, and Hanuman reasons out these three things. He says that fear of height and my distraction, don't worry, if you are there, my whole responsibility would be to take care of you. And as far as you are saying about the Parapurush, I am like your son. I am your son. So for a mother, touching the son is not a problem, and I am not a Parapurush from you. And then Sita says one more reason. And Sita says this is a confidential reason. Sita said that when later on, when historians will record, what will they write? That Rama's wife was kidnapped and Rama could not protect, and a monkey protected, and Rama was defeated, or Rama could not do anything. So she said that I cannot compromise the position of my husband's reputation. So she said that I am willing to forego my safety, but not Rama's reputation. So this is how it is about the purity in character and in love. And then the E stands for empathetic. So here in this verse, what we are reading, it describes bhavagya, which means understanding the attitude for the husband. So she would completely align, she would understand what her husband has in his heart. She would think like that. So sometimes, like in forest, Sita would wonder why Rama and Lakshmana are struggling so hard to cut the woods for daily this thing. Why? I mean, just by their glance, everything can happen. They can uproot the entire forest. So why they have to manually do that? And then she would remind herself that Rama and Lakshmana, they don't want to misuse their celestial weapons. So their weapons are made for protection of others and not for their fulfilling of their personal needs. And that is why they are not using it. So this is how, like small little things, we will find so many examples as how she would actually was completely in line with her husband. Another example of empathy is when they were going back to Ayodhya. So when the Viman was flying over Kishkinda, understanding that how grateful Rama was for all the monkeys, she said that she wanted to get down there at Kishkinda and would carry all the she monkeys with her to Ayodhya for the coronation ceremony. So she actually, that is how she compliments her husband, and that is how she understands the attitude of her husband and she fulfills it. So she picked up all the Vanara lady monkeys on her way back to Ayodhya. And because of her such nature, what happened as a result is that she could completely attract the heart and the mind of Lord Ramchandra. So this is how, when we focus on the scope of husband and wife, when the husband tries to be saintly and committed, outstanding, peaceful and exemplary in his behavior, and the wife behaves respectfully with shyness, demonstrate chastity, she is obedient, purity in character and love, and she is empathetic, that is how one becomes a perfect couple. So seeking the blessings of Shri Sita Ram, tomorrow is Rama navami. So meditating on their wonderful, glorious pastimes and their qualities, let us all take refuge in Sita Ram. Continuing with this series, tomorrow we will be coming up with how to become dear to Lord Rama. So in our first session, we heard why Rama is dear to us, or what do I love about Lord Rama. Today's session, we learned about Sita and Ram, and tomorrow we will see how can I become dear to Lord Rama. So I would love to read your comments about today's session. How did you find the session? Kindly leave the comment in the chat box below. You can also reach me at sukirti@studygeeta.com. Looking forward for all your emails and comments. Thank you. Hare Krishna.